We are in Parshat Bishalach this morning. This is Shabbat Shirah this afternoon. We're at Shabbat Shirah. We're at the Song of the Sea, and so this Shabbat is called the Shabbat of Song, Shabbat Shirah. So we come to this moment where the Egyptians have thrown out the Israelites after the 10th plague, and the Israelites come to the shore of the Sea of Reeds. Behind them, because Pharaoh changes his mind, behind them are coming the chariots, are coming the war machine, the armies of the most powerful empire in the region of the time, in the world, according to the people who lived there. That's all they knew. So the Egyptian armies are coming after the Israelites. So the Israelites at this moment that our Bar Mitzvah is going to read about, at this moment they are trapped between the sea and the armies of Pharaoh coming up behind them. And so, like Jews of so many generations, what do the Israelites do at this moment? They turn on their leaders. And they say to Moses, "Was it for want of graves in Egypt that you brought us out here to die in the deserts?" It's a very Jewish response, right, to crisis. A very human response to crisis. Because what happens when we're the most afraid that we get? What happens when we're the most anxious we get? We panic. And when we panic, what do we tend to do? Figure out who to blame for what's happening to us. We either blame ourselves or we blame whoever's conveniently close to us, often family members. We blame somebody because it feels so out of control sometimes that if it's somebody's fault, maybe there's a way to do something about it. And if it's my fault, certainly there's got to be a way to do something about it, so we tend to blame ourselves a lot. So I believe, and our rabbis have believed for generations, that this is a teaching about reality. When we get stuck, when we feel trapped, when it feels like here comes the army and there's nothing ahead of us but the sea that's going to drown us, we panic. We turn, we blame somebody, and what is Moshe's answer to the people? Moshe says to them, Al tira'u, don't come out of fear. Don't be afraid. Because if you're moving out of fear, whatever's going to happen next is not going to be a good thing. Al tira'u, don't come out of fear. And then he says to them that you need to yitzvu, you shall plant yourselves, be here, be fully here. It's what you do with a monument. You know, that's the Hebrew verb. Whatever you do to a monument to make it stand up. Yitzvu, be here. Erect yourselves. Stand strong. And see what God will do for you today. Because a lot of our circumstances can only shift when we see things a little differently. And that can only happen when we stop panicking and settle down and show up and just be still, be here. And at last, he says, God will act on your behalf for your Yeshua, for your salvation this day. Your job, tachishun. Shut up. Just shut up. Stop talking. Because we start talking and we start making it all worse. I knew this was going to happen. This always happens. This is how it always goes. Didn't I tell you? We start talking and it doesn't get any better when we're in fear and panic. So Moshe's advice, says the rabbis, is actually spiritual advice to all of us when we get stuck. And our Bar Mitzvah is going to speak a little bit more about that moment later.
Yashar Tov.